Chapter 5, How to Make Better Recordings.
I feel confident in knowing how to operate my recorder now, Frank. I guess the next step is to learn something about making good recordings.
You should be confident, Bob. You're an excellent pupil. And that's always an inspiration to any teacher. However, before we go any further, there's one point I should like to stress again, because it's not only extremely important, but I think it might be helpful to you. Now, your tape is like a camera film in some important respects. I'm sure you've had more than one overexposure on film when you first started using your camera. Remember, the negatives were so black and the photo finisher almost refused to make prints from them?
Now, this I have done, and more than once, too.
Well, the same is true with tape, Bob. You can get overexposure by allowing too much sound current to reach it. That's why your recorder has this cathoptic eye, or record level indicator, to prevent overexposure of sound. And if you watch it carefully on every recording, there's no reason in the world why every recording shouldn't come out just right. Use this as a rule. The maximum amount of sound that can be placed on a tape is indicated when the two sides of the wedge just touch in the middle. We covered this before, but remember it well. To go a step further, this meeting of the wedge should only happen on the loudest peaks of sound that you're recording. If you go beyond this and your sound level is too high, the wedges will overlap and you'll have distortion. The sound will be about as black to the ear as an overexposed film to the eye.
Will this happen in talking voice recording?
Well, not so much as with music. But, here, let me play this tape for you and demonstrate it rather than just talk about it.
This is a correct recording, speaking about 6 to 8 inches from the microphone in a well-modulated voice. This is an overloaded recording, speaking very close to the microphone with exactly the same amount of voice pressure. Notice how my voice is distorted.
Now you get an idea as to what overloading sounds like, Bob. On the other hand, suppose we did just the opposite. Not enough sound on the tape. What happens then? Well, for this answer, let us return to our analogy of the camera film. You remember those negatives of yours that were so light that there was almost no image at all? Those negatives made poor prints, too, just like the overexposed ones. This applies to your tape, too. If we don't get enough sound on the tape, the playback will be weak, and the only way you'll be able to hear it is to turn up the volume level way, way up beyond what it should be, and you hear not only a weak signal or sound, but also a lot of extraneous noise.
What causes the noise?
If an engineer were to tell you, he'd say the signal-to-noise ratio drops. This means that when you have a weak recording, you have to amplify the noise that is inherently present way out of proportion to the signal, or the sound that you want to hear. At a normal listening level, these noises are so far below your hearing level that they wouldn't be noticed. But let's demonstrate instead of talk. First, here's a good recording made at the proper record level. For contrast, here's a recording that's too weak. The cathoptic indicator wedge hardly moved when it was made, so we're going to have to turn the volume way up to hear it. Just remember to watch the tuning eye when recording. Make sure that the sides of the wedges just touch, no more, when they reach the middle on the highest peaks or sounds. Do this, Bob, and all will be well.
Going back for a moment to voice recording, are there any pointers you can give me on how to do it well?
Certainly, there are some good pointers on voice recording. Well, let me caution you about one thing first, Bob. If you've never heard a recording of your own voice, you're in for a big surprise.
How's that?
Most people just don't believe it's their own voice when they hear it on a recording. They feel they just don't speak the way they sound on tape.
Well, do they?
Remember, you have a good tape recorder, and good recorders are pretty frank instruments. They play back exactly the sounds that they record.
Well, why would my voice sound differently to me? I can hear myself talk. Well, why would I sound different on tape?
There is a good reason, Bob. You listen to yourself talk from the inside of your own head, not from outside with your ears as you hear my voice. Until you've made a recording of your voice, you can't know how other people hear you. And the way they hear your voice with their ears is different from the way you hear it inside your head. So when you make a recording, you actually hear how you sound to other people.
Well, that's amazing. In one sense of the word, I'll hear myself speak for the first time. This is getting pretty exciting, Frank. Tell me more.
Well, the next pointer would be to keep the proper relationship between your lips and the microphone. When making a voice recording, it's important to keep the distance from your mouth to the microphone constant. Once you've set your recording level, hold your position in relation to the mic. If you don't, your recording may well sound like this one.
When making a voice recording, it is important to keep the distance between your mouth and the microphone constant. Once you have set your recorder level at the proper point, hold your position in relation to the microphone.
Some people make popping sounds when they pronounce words with the letter P in them, or they may whistle or hiss on the S sound. Now, this problem can either be greatly subdued or eliminated entirely by speaking across the top of the mic rather than directly into it. If this doesn't help, try turning the mic at a 45-degree angle. Blasts and popping can also be corrected by covering the mic with a handkerchief. Now let's listen to some incorrect recording sounds.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Susie sold seashells by the seashore.
Here's how it sounds with the same person speaking over the top of the mic.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Susie sold seashells by the seashore.
Just remember to treat the mic like a human ear. There's one word of caution that applies to all recordings. Don't continually change the volume while the recording is being made. Some small adjustment may be necessary from time to time, but generally it's best to set the recording level so that the eye just closes on the loudest peaks and then let it alone.
Well, Frank, is there a rule of thumb for the distance between the mic and the mouth?
Well, for ordinary voice recording, the microphone should be about 6 to 10 inches from the mouth. This provides adequate volume for the recorder, and the proximity helps in cutting down the background noise, especially since you won't have to turn the recording volume up as high.
Was it possible to record groups, for example, my club meetings?
Sure. There are a couple of ways that you might do this. You might record your club meetings by passing the microphone from hand to hand to each person who's speaking. Of course, the trouble with this method is that you usually wind up with a noisy recording, especially if 2 or 3 are discussing a subject all at the same time. And there's always the difficulty of getting the mic to the speaker without a lot of delay in passing it around. The best way is to place the mic on a stand or a table in the center of the group. The mic should be facing upward for the benefit of everybody around the mic. Unless you have a round table or the group is sitting in a circle, it's a good idea to place the fellows with the soft or weak voices closer to the mic, and the others with husky or heavy voices can be placed farther from the mic, since their voices are usually louder and carry a little further. To double-check your arrangement, have each of the members say a few words before your meeting begins, and then set your record level volume at an average. Whatever you do, caution the fellows to speak one at a time and in a firm voice. Otherwise, it's going to sound like your wife's bridge club. Well, everyone talks and no one listens.
Well, how about recording from radio or TV? Can't I just place the microphone in front of the loudspeaker and record?
Yes, you can make recordings this way, but they aren't going to be nearly as good as those made by connecting directly to the voice coil terminals of the radio or television speaker. Just using the mic presents a problem, Bob. You see, in picking up sound from the speaker, the microphone will also pick up any other sounds in the room along with the program that you want to record. If somebody slams the door, it's recorded on the tape. The baby cries, the phone rings, your wife calls you from the kitchen, it all goes on the tape through the microphone.
I get enough of that without putting it on the tape. How do I make a speaker connection?
Well, look in my accessory box there, Bob. You see that cord with the 2 sharp-toothed clamps on one end?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can see why they're called alligator clamps. Well, these 2 clamps clip onto each side of the voice coil speaker leads inside the radio or television set. The other end is plugged into the radio phono jack of the recorder. Now, I'd like to recommend one thing, Bob, though. If you do plan to do much radio or TV recording, it would be a good idea to have your serviceman install a jack connected to the volume control of the radio or TV rather than using the clips on the speaker terminals. This makes your recording hookup a lot easier. All you do then is to plug one end of your cord into the jack and the other end into your recorder. One thing, in connecting to your recorder, insert the plug all the way in as you do with the microphone.
Why?
Because your connection on the volume control of the radio or TV set only provides a small amount of current, and it will get the boost it needs from the mic stage input on the recorder.
Was it safe to connect the alligator clips to the radio and television speakers?
Well, it's a safe procedure on most of the larger sets, but some care should be taken with others. Certain table model radios and TV chassis have a potential of giving you a bad shock, and that's why it's best to have a serviceman make the connection for you. That way it's safe and you're sure it's done properly. Oh, one other point. When taking a lead from the loudspeaker terminals, insert the plug into the recorder radio phono input only halfway until you feel that first stage click. If you do, your recording will sound like this. For the opposite, here's how your recording will sound if you make a mistake and push the plug all the way in. The distortion you're going to hear is the result of overload. You see, by inserting the plug all the way into the receptacle, you're using an input stage designed to take very little current, namely from the microphone, or, as we've just discussed, from the volume control on the radio or television set. But it can't accept the full blast from the speaker terminals without overloading and causing distortion. Let's listen.
A little bit of that is enough to make you want to do it right, isn't it?
I'll say. I can only agree with you, Bob. But understanding these problems now will greatly reduce the chance for error later when you begin recording.
What about my new AM/FM tuner? Can I record from it?
Your tuner is an excellent source for good recordings. Just connect the output of the tuner to the radio phono input of the recorder. Incidentally, tuners usually have an output marked tape. Another thought, push the monitor switch on the recorder to the on position, and you'll be able to hear the music as you record it.
Not only music, Frank, but radio and television bring a lot of history into the home. It'd be a worthwhile project to record broadcasts of famous speeches or historical happenings. I could build a sound library of significant events for reference years from now. The kids could even use these in their schoolwork.
That's right, Bob. You know, I have a recording of the first Sputnik that I made by connecting my recorder to my neighbor's shortwave receiver. I've taped a lot of foreign language broadcasts the same way. In fact, Nancy took some of them to school, and the kids are using them for translation in their language courses. And another thing, we can't forget phonograph records. You know, you can make excellent copies of these on tape by taking the leads from the phonograph into the radio phono input, or into the magnetic input for the ones with the magnetic cartridges. Again, by putting the monitor switch onto the on position, you can hear the music while you record it. Or, as we mentioned before, you can use your recorder for playing phonograph records through its amplifier speaker system. You don't have to record if you just want to listen.
Well, why bother duplicating records on tape? Just to play back. Why not just play the records instead?
Well, in the first place, every time you play a record, you're wearing out the record grooves. Granted that the wear with each playing isn't great, but it is constant, and eventually there will be a noticeable decline in the fidelity. In addition to normal wear by needle pressure, few people give records the care that they should have. They get scratched, dust is allowed to collect, the moisture and grime from your hands are deposited in the grooves if you're not careful. All of these can increase the rate of deterioration. But with tape, the sound will be just as sharp and clear, whether it's played once, 100 times, or 10,000 times. So, when you buy a new record, tape it first. Then you have a permanent recording with permanent fidelity. Listen to this recording of a new record that I bought yesterday. Now listen to this record of Nancy's. It must have been played 100 times, and Nancy gives her records anything but kid glove care. There's the difference, Bob. Tape your records when they're new, and music will stay new for a lifetime. Now, there's another interesting angle here, too. Since tape has a long playing time, you can make reels of your favorite selections or individual numbers from a variety of records. That's something you just can't buy. You know, another thing I do is to swap recordings with other tape recorder owners. So there are quite a few good reasons for taping records, Bob.
Well, what about live music recordings, Frank? Like, well, for instance, your Dixieland combo. Where should the mic be placed?
I think my answer will surprise you, because the answer is I don't know. You see, there are so many factors affecting a live pickup that the only way for obtaining the best results is to actually make test recordings with the mic in different positions. By doing so, you'll find a mic should be placed in a position where it will receive the sound directly from the sounding board of the instrument. In the case of a violin or similar instrument, aim the mic directly at the sound holes beneath the strings. If you're working with a grand piano, point the mic toward the inside of the uplifted lid. Rule of thumb again, the sound should come as directly as possible to the microphone, close enough to pick up the tone of the instrument to best advantage, but not to the point where it picks up the mechanical noises that are also a part of an instrument's sound. Also, it's best to place the microphone on a stand and have the performer maintain a constant distance from it. If you want to have some real fun in live music recording, try using a contact microphone. These are relatively inexpensive, and you can probably get one from the same dealer that sold you your recorder. Contact mics won't pick up air vibrations like ordinary mics do. Instead, they pick up the vibrations of the instrument itself. That's why you have to fasten them directly to the sounding board of the instrument. You can oftentimes do this with ordinary cellophane tape.
Is that what they use on electric guitars?
Sure, contact mics. The microphone is fed into an amplifier to amplify the sound as loud as a piano or any other high-volume instrument.
Well, how do you record it?
Instead of connecting the contact microphone to an amplifier, you plug it into the microphone input on your recorder. This way, you record directly from the instrument, get good results, and cut out room noises. It also eliminates acoustic problems in the recording room. Bob, you can even attach a contact mic to a harmonica and get recordings with it that are almost pipe organ volume. I'll prove it with this experimental tape that I made. First, you'll hear the harmonica as I recorded it with an ordinary mic in a room, and then you'll hear it recorded with a contact mic fastened right to it. You won't have any trouble identifying which is which.